I'm Slowy from Habu Gaming, and I'm fuck my life.
I'm Hoodie, and I play for Habu Gaming. I'm excited to be here at Flashpoint 1.
Who are the teams we're gonna beat? Probably all of them. Let's say all of them.
I don't think any team is like the strongest at the moment.
Our personality, it's like calm, always calm.
I don't know, I'm just calm. There's no roller coaster during the games, and we can keep it cool and calm.
If I'm mad, I'm like, fuck this.
I'm never mad, that's the issue. I just can't do it.
I'm not a mean person.
Do I look terrifying?
Well, I don't think they look terrifying in that video, but I'm sure they look a little bit scarier now that they've actually completed 2 upsets, one of Mad Lions and now of Contact in best of 3s.
Who's the new best team?
Yep.
Havu, apparently.
So is Havu the best team now? Anders said Havu top 4 yesterday.
In the context of the maps they've played, jokes aside, they actually probably are the most impressive team, I would say.
I wouldn't say that they're the best team, but certainly they're a team with grit and grind on their side. I mean, these matches, even in this last match on Dust 2, their ability to just stay within the rounds and even the aggression and confidence coming out, specifically on Hoodie. We look back on that CT pistol. We were sitting in here in this green room and I was talking to Thor and I'm just like, the balls on him to continue that fight and take on that duel. I love it. I think it's great to see, and I want to see more of that coming out of these Habu players.
Well, what have they proven today? Because people were saying, oh, it's a mistake that they're not picking Nuke. Oh, they're going to get annihilated on Dust 2. Are they showing a depth that people thought they didn't have before?
Forgot for the whole Finnish CS angle, man. Dust 2 should have known all along. Should have known. That's obviously the strength.
The level that they're playing at. If they have a CT side to go along with that, it's just, they're definitely looking like a crazy strong dark horse, I think.
I think that's also how you know actually the team is set up pretty well, is you would think if you just looked at the scoreboard, their players should be equally as good as Contact. Like, they were fragging great in this series. They were in both the series they've played. I don't think that's actually true. I think if you could isolate these players and put them in different teams, some of them would just be average players. But that's how you know that the system works. It makes more of the players than what you, in theory, get by default.
So how much credit goes to Saw then for being the IGL of this team and calling so many of these creative strats on the T side?
A lot of credit, if not majority of that credit. I mean, just even on this train, we spoke about in that pregame, you asked me what's their win condition, what can they do to exploit the weaknesses, and it's really that teamwork, that pulling, the juggling of the aggro that we spoke about in the pregame, and they really do that well. They work off of each other really well, and they seem to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, and it's all about that firepower when they're going to utilize it.
Honestly, like it's really concerning to me because you have teams like Gen G that are making repeated massive mistakes in their fundamentals and like just using utility and taking basic map control. And I'm wondering, like, what is their support staff actually doing when you look at Havu, who are doing all these things right, and they're doing it to like an extra level. Like, for example, like I was saying in that cast, they have this depth where they know that if they take long, okay, sure, the CTs will take cat. Then they fake them out. They actually make it sound like they're going to go back and go for a cat take by dropping some utility, which clears long, and then the players swing long at the perfect timings. Like, they actually are thinking this through very, very well. So I'm actually very impressed of how the inner workings of Havu actually looks like, because it's looking really good to me.
I think one question for Havu is, are they going to be gatekeepers where they're just stopping other people from winning, or are they going to be a championship contender themselves?
Well, I mean, they're at least going to be contending in terms of playoffs because they've locked themselves into a top 2 position, and they're going to be playing a team that they've already beaten in the grand finals of this group.
So important that they're getting the points as well. But
yep.
This is definitely a team that's been looking strong since the qualifiers. Didn't make the cut then, but are in the tournament and are definitely showing that they are a real team to be contended.
All right, well, we do have Dodo from Havu, who's going to... You're happy. You just smiled. You want to talk to Dodo, so we'll let you ask the first question. Right. Dodo, are you with us? Congrats on the win.
Yep. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Dodo. Hey, I wanted to ask you, now you played Mad Lions and now you've just played Contact, beating both of them in a series. And both of these squads are missing their fifths. And I know you're very familiar with both of these squads. Did you sense their weaknesses within that server on any of these maps? Or was it pretty much the same? Or how did you end up winning with such great fashion?
Well, I think that there was a lot of like talk because they play with a new player, like both of those teams. So of course they're like reacting, and teamwork and all those things aren't as good as they could have been. So we knew like if we just play our own defaults and just try to react better than them, then we're gonna win.
Does that actually tie into the map veto then? Because when we were looking, you would expect against a team like Contact, if you try and specifically go against them, you don't want to play Dust 2 against a bunch of aimers, but you guys were happy to go into that. When they gave you the option, you could have made that a Vertigo or something instead. What did you think of the map veto?
I mean, Dust 2 is one of our best maps, and it's not as aim-based map as people think. That you actually need to know like how you need to react, and everything needs to be like super fast. So it's like, of course you can win some situations with your aim, but that's in every map.
Was Saw actually trying to play up to the meme about Finns having no souls and talking like rally drivers when he was doing that? Like, I am very emotional. Was he trying to be, is that actually what he's like as a person, or was he trying to like play up to the meme?
That's just so, I mean, that's probably like 99% of Finns anyway, so everybody is like that, and nobody's bragging or being toxic or anything.
What are your goals for Flashpoint 1? Do you see yourselves as potentially winning the whole thing, or do you have like a certain target to get like top 4, top 3?
I mean, top 4 would be really good for us, but I think we can beat like every team here. And especially now because it's online, so you don't like your experience doesn't matter that much. Like, we have some experience. We have been like 3 or 4 LANs with this lineup, so we've gotten some experience, but still online is online.
Plus, you have your real 5 players. You're already ahead of about 75% of the field at this point in time anyways.
I mean, you even have 5 players, so that puts you ahead of some teams.
There you go. It turns out actually turning up is half the battle for Flashpoint 1. We don't know anything else about your team, so that's the end of the questions.
Feel free to ask anything.
All right. Nobody has any more questions?
I mean, I can throw a question in there. In terms of this series, your T sides looked amazing, but the CT sides look like they need some work. Is that something you guys are working on, or you're struggling with, or what's the story of your CT sides so far?
Our CT sides have always been like, sometimes they're like, we can just 15-0 any team, but sometimes we're struggling on certain maps like Mirage. It kind of varies, like if our CT or T side is good.
I have one more question. It seemed like Slowy this weekend online, he's been very much activated. And in the past few LANs that I've witnessed you guys playing, it seems like it's been all about you, Dodo, and Hoodie. And Slowy has been pretty quiet as far as on the stats board. Have you guys changed anything to ignite him and enable him to get these kills? Or is it just the fact that it's online and he's just a lot more comfortable?
Onliner.
I think that, like, I went to a full, like, I was entering when I joined this team, so I went into a like full lurk role, so that enables like Slowy and Hoodie to just go as entries and just destroy everyone. So I think that's working for us right now.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Dodo. Good luck in the finals match in your group. You'll be playing a team you've already beaten, no matter what. It will be either Mad Lions or Contact, and we'll see you in just a couple days.
All right, thanks.
By the way, to actually comment on some of the things that you were saying there, like, it makes perfect sense. Like, to tie into my point earlier, that CT side is where they would be weaker, because a lot of CT side play is just if you're holding your spot, you have to take an aim duel. You don't have a choice. It becomes about mechanical ability there. So as a team with less well-established players, it makes logical sense they would have issues there. But I will point out, actually, like he said, people do actually over-conflate this rework of Dust 2 with the old Dust 2, which really was the most figured-out map in probably the history of Counter-Strike, where everyone knew all the angles and fights, and it was basically about individual play. This one, it definitely, you need a lot more routine on the T side to have a good game. And so on this particular map, like, I was very impressed with all those cat takes. They had a million variations on that. And you could see the way you know they were effective is Contact just opted into the retake like every time. They never even tried to stand their ground.
Yeah, exactly. We were discussing the fact that Contact never actually chose to fight those long A duels or the short A duels or the top A duels. On multiple occasions, they just ended up giving up A. And that generally happens when you don't have the spawn to contest long A, or let's say you miss a flash, you get blind, you get caught off guard, and you just say, abort, abort, and you fall back and try to retake. But that should only happen once or twice. Most of the time, you're going to have a round where you have the spawn and you're going to be able to utilize that and get into a forward position, take over long A pit. But that really never happened for Contact on their CT side.
Could this be a lack of depth in the team, where it's the self-sacrifice necessary for that long player to be throwing himself in pit round after round after round after round after round?
Surely it can't.
Get your head blasted off, and you're like, well, this just sucks, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but dude, Neil is so animated, so vocal, and he's such a huge part of this squad. I guess, you know, I thought that Rollin coming in and slotting in and taking over Letney's spot, it would have been easy is what I thought, but I guess it's just a lot more difficult for this squad, these 5 players, more so than I originally anticipated.
Fair enough. So which rematch would you guys like to see more in our finals? Havu, Mad Lions? Mad Lions with maybe a little bit more experience under their belt without Hunden? Or do you want to see Contact once again, what we just saw today?
I think in terms of like to have a fun match, even though today's was pretty entertaining, I'd rather see the Mad Lions one. I think it's more of like a tactical matchup. Plus the map pool depth has a lot more interesting opportunities. They can go different places. The interesting thing about the Contact angle is just because of the skill, they're going to have a puncher's chance against anyone in this tournament. So they could still get it all together and win the whole thing.
Even over a sustained period of weeks.
Mate, these aren't the best teams in the world. You just have to win a couple. And then done it, haven't you?
You got enough time. You got enough time when you're living on the road like that. They are basically boot camping for the next month, right? So I mean, there's perhaps a couple weeks, but there is perhaps time, right? Enough to progress.
Yeah, I'd like to see Mad Lions as well. I think there's a lot of work for both Havu and Contact to do, and maybe later down the line, like a rematch would be interesting. But in the short term, I think Mad Lions would be a more interesting challenge for a second match.
I really am not a fan of like the Hunden moves. So I kind of want to see Mad Lions just get wrecked by this team. So,
I like that. I like that.
For sure,
I like
actually,
that.
Schadenfreude with DDK. We don't normally get this. Usually a very forgiving individual. You know.
Yeah, I just need to see it play out. But the thing is, like, I wonder, is it even a more extreme version of like the Ents transfer? Actually, that can't be more extreme, right?
No, because he's
had such a height.
But Hunden's still part of the team as well, right? He's still like just not playing.
That's what I say.
Peacemaker to worry about.
Though, that no one knows
Peacemaker.
what he does, because obviously Peacemaker's the coach.
And he's already came out publicly saying that he's not going to step on Peacemaker's toes. Peacemaker is here right now. So what's going on there, right? In terms of his involvement, or is it just him stepping back into the org itself, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm a manager now."
That is a weird one, because also with a coach position, from team to team, that can vary how much. Like he might just be going like, "Come on, guys, you know, you can do this," kind of thing behind them, or might actually be laying out some strats or something. So that can vary as well. So I would imagine there's a place for Hunden to do something, if not in the server.
Well, let's talk about who is an effective coach. Who do you think are the most effective coaches that we have here? I know it's always difficult to see from our position what exactly the coaches are doing behind the scenes, but who do you like and who do you think is being the most efficient?
I was going to say Lamy on FPX, but I got to take that back. Yeah, I mean, it's not even the fact that they didn't win. It's just I'm actually disappointed in all the coaches here in Flashpoint 1 so far. I mean, I know I talked to you about this, but none of the coaches seem to be utilizing their timeouts. None of their coaches, none of these coaches seem to be utilizing any of their value in their input towards the team. And even when we're looking at Mad Lion's side, Peacemaker, I made a tweet about this, but he's Brazilian. They're communicating in Danish. How is he supposed to follow the flow of the game and provide actual valuable input to be able to turn the round for his squad? So it is confusing to me. I'd like to see these coaches utilizing a lot more timeouts.
Peacemaker is a big question mark, I got to say. He's jumped so many different teams, and I'm not really sure. Like, I don't know if you guys have any insight into like the actual like stories behind a lot of that.
The meme is that he's just gonna play on the team, right?
Right.
Yes. Oh no, I have to step in again.
Well, and I think it's so different because so many different coaches for so many different teams provide different sort of value, different sort of input. They may be more heavily involved in the prep. They may be more heavily involved in the freeze times. They may be heavily more involved in the mid games, like in DreamHack Opens, with which a lot of these teams are used to, because in those freeze times, the coaches are able to actually communicate with their players and teams, which is pretty different than this landscape.
Well, yeah, but part of the most important thing is that now that we're online, the coaches can constantly communicate with the teams, right? So in effect, we should be seeing the best coaches have an outsized role now that we've moved into an online tournament.
Based on the fact that C9 won that game against FPX, which obviously in theory on paper was an upset, even though they're not that far apart in the rankings overall, just experience-wise, I'll say maybe TC from Cloud9, someone I would put forward, because I don't know anything about this guy from the Bravado days. Quite frankly, I didn't give a fuck about teams like that. Wasn't being paid to at the time. So what I would say, if you look at like the match, like to beat FPX is a pretty legit result. It seems like if you're watching the game, they know what they're doing. They have a good game plan, good roles. So he must be doing something.
I feel bad because I forgot about TC, and I have to agree with you. He's actually a medical doctor with a license from South Africa. He gave up his practice. Listen, he gave up his practice to pursue his passion in coaching this South African CSGO team. Now they have 3 Americans. It's a really cool story. I ran into him in the lobby in Katowice, and it was like 11 p.m. and he was prepping in the business center in the hotel. So yeah, TC. Let's go with TC.
I do think that there needs to be like a more standardized expectation for coaches right now, because it is just all over the place. No one really understands. And there's also like no accountability with coaches. I know there's also for a lot of coaches within the structure of the team, they don't necessarily have enough power. So it's hard to actually give them accountability or like blame a coach. But I feel like we do need to move more towards that kind of model. Obviously, we're not there yet. But
just going to say, listen, we'll make our points here, but the whole vibe of this post-game show is like it's fun, it's loose. I just realized when I was stood listening to DDK tell me about how we need like standardized expectations of what's normal for like we've got to actually transition the atmosphere at some point, guys, away from the analyst desk towards the bar. So let's make our final points and then let's start just talking stupid shit.
All right. Well, I guess we could do we don't need any more points. We've already done them today. We could do some drunk tweets then.
Yeah, let's do it. I want DDK to do this. When's he going to get him?
Oh. Wow,
drunk
I just surprised.
DDK drunk tweeters. I love
production.
cruciferous vegetables.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I've seen his drunk tweets. They're actually not that good. They're actually less exciting, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's a downward trajectory.
The DDK drunk tweet is literally, I like the way your garden grows. And he means it like unironically. He just really appreciates the gardening job someone done.
I just have a deep appreciation for life.
There you go. Come on, we got a drunk tweet.
Yeah, where's the tweet?
Yeah, they're bringing it up. I surprised them.
We're working with it.
Let's shout at them. Let's pressure them so they make mistakes.
By
the way, technically, DDK was the only one to predict Tavu would win that game.
Yeah. Oh no, similar too. But DDK's been saying it since yesterday.
I mean, I thought but then I saying, but
yeah, exactly. I was about to say. I was waiting for. I was like, where is he going to take this?
There we go.
Because he's definitely getting into his stride. You can see him starting to limber up a little bit.
I'm usually waiting for him to finish talking so I can start talking. Why change the habit of a lifetime?
All right, there you go, Thorin. Would you read your tweet?
Yeah, sure. It says, everyone in Flashpoint who doesn't actually have a signed contract yet, whip your dick out. It's supposed to be a drop tweet. It's not supposed to be like super witty or interesting, is it? Just something stupid that I tweeted.
I liked your first one, but didn't you have a different one?
I had a better one before.
Yeah, I read a different one.
But whatever.
Definitely can't.
I had one, but I quote tweeted. What I did was I quote tweeted Fun Plus Phoenix's roster announcement, and we can't do a quote tweet in there. But
why are you?
We haven't even pointed that out.
Well, you see, I figured as coming from League of Legends, which is Fun Plus Phoenix's original game, I figure at least somebody should be representing Fun Plus Phoenix on Flashpoint today. So I took the bullet for you.
And
very nice of you. Very nice.
He's also the only person we could be sure wouldn't get bought up by Nicola and Aham before the post game show. It's always going to come back to me. It's always going to come. That well's deep and it's got a lot of water in it. Understand that.
You're just going to keep going.
It's time to get yourselves in trouble, James and Dan, because we haven't heard your takes on the Fun Plus Phoenix situation. We've all opined. We've all put it out there.
Well, my take is if the guys were here warming up to play their match. Why not play the fucking match? Like, what have you got to lose at that point? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Should have done a Rosa Parks and be like, I'm not leaving this seat. I earned this right. And then see if they're getting thrown out or not. Maybe they could change the whole landscape of CS. It could be heroes. They'll probably be on the next dollar bill.
Yeah, I just don't like
why. For FNS. See how I tied it back in again?
See, there
always thinking.
If the players want to play, let them play.
I clearly there's some stuff we don't know that's going on behind the scenes with this contract or business deal situation that may have prevented that. Who knows what clauses are in there, right? But yeah, it is a bummer that we don't get to see the players play at the very least because they seem committed to do it.
What's your view, Dan? Where are the bars at?
Well, I mean, like, I don't have any information as well to like really go off of on this.
That's not fun. Speculate. Make it up.
Hey, man, I just want to see them play as well. I don't know, man. I'll get in there. I'll get on the server. I'll play and cast at the same time.
Put me in, coach.
Players. I mean,
playing a lot of matchmaking lately.
What's a pain in the ass about this thing is that it sounds like this has been in the works for a few weeks now, and we're only just and it all breaks, and it's like always in esports, it all breaks in the span of 5 hours.
Talking about Flashpoint FBX right now.
Oh, there you go.
Wait, were Heroic trying to
why
sell
not
team?
both at the same time? Also,
been all over the
also,
place.
can I interest you in a global pandemic simultaneously, similar? Because it's been interesting.
It feels like we've seen this classic before.
So Heroic are trying to sell a team in one direction and a player in another direction at the same time. From what we can see. So there's all kinds of nonsense going on. And we saw rumors that they were trying to pick up a player, presumably to replace the outgoing one, but then...
Pretty sure from Heroic's perspective, they were trying to sell a lineup. They're not trying to sell a player.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, that would make sense,
who
right?
was reached out to by Astralis, who then, started to get their fingers dirty. And then all of a sudden, it's like the player's like, hey, really love you guys, but I'm going to go play for them.
Yeah.
And Heroic are like, oh, we were just about to sign this deal with FPX. All speculation, of course, we don't know. But I mean, it seems to me like that's the case where Astralis kind of pulled the rug out from under these.
Well, you guys have heard me droning on about this all day, but in every other esports, there are anti-tampering rules where, you literally, if you are a team owner or part of an organization management, you cannot go directly to a player that's contracted to any other team and start pitching. You have to go through the ownership group of that team.
Sure.
And many players, at least in other esports, have contractual clauses that say if the owner is approached, your owner is approached, they must tell you that there has been an offer, but that doesn't mean you're free to go pursue it.
Sure, but there's no governing body, Bonnie. We don't have a governing body in the same sense that we've.
There's a CSPPA. But
Right. Oh, what? Who was that? Huh? Oh, Scoots. He's holed up in his house over in Scottsdale right now, man. He doesn't know what's going on. He hasn't looked out the window in a week.
All right. All right. Look, to be fair, he is one of the most vulnerable people to the current catastrophe. I don't blame him.
The thing is, though, that Astralis contract starts in June, July, or something like that. So why not just play out and at least continue now, so there is like a status quo rather than just stop everything and nothing's happening.
Yeah, no, that is actually the real shame here. I mean, we should have just had the game. The players were ready to go. Everybody was ready to go. We should have just had the game and then sorted it out as it goes. Because really, it's not the players and it's not the league. It's just these two teams that need to sort their stuff out.
Plus, if you're the Danish players, just say, you know what, fuck Heroic, fuck FPX. Let us be like August. We'll be August too, KD and Boogaloo, and just give us that sweet 5K a month. We'll play the tournament.
Could have been.
Could have saved it all.
It's just another day with FNS sitting in the background, just spectating, laughing, smiling. Everything's going according to his plan, right?
Guy literally wins games in $1 million tournaments without even playing a match. This guy's so next level. You know that thing they say, like, the ultimate way to win in a battle is without even a bullet being fired? This he wins the mind war.
Okay, Sun Tzu. All right, Sun Tzu. Let's pump the brakes just a second.
Exactly. He's on some Sun Tzu level.
I mean, but that is literally such part of war, right? Because you are actually winning the battle before the battle even occurs. That's the entire point.
FNS, we're going to go to him, get the Book of 5 Rings or something. It's going to be like the Book of 5 servers. What is it? What's going to happen here?
It is mildly entertaining. I know Orglis wanted to play though today. It's not like they want these free nobody likes free wins. So well, it depends on how much money he makes in the end, I suppose. Moving up the rankings. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for today for the Blind Spot. We'll be back with more matches for you tomorrow here on Flashpoint. Hopefully all of the matches that are scheduled. Stay tuned.